It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to be covering Into the Unknown, Chapter 2. And no, this is not the Frozen movie. If you're looking at this mode and you think, what's the best way I can approach this? Two best ways. Caramel Arrow, Summoners. Those are going to be your two easiest ways for most of these situations. But let's cover them together. 1-13, I use Caramel Arrow with just speed and scroll. You're only allowed one cookie. Got through the match super easily. This one, we're going to go ahead and use Summoners. We have to do it in 35 seconds. So we want speed. So we will take Purple Yam. And then everyone else will be a summoner of some sorts. So let's find Cotton Cookie. Let's find Oyster. And then we do want speed. And honestly, because of our power level, I don't think we even need the pincushion to be able to take this out. Now, if you do need power, that's fine. Do consider that as an option. But the main thing to think about is that you want cookies that move fast and take out these waves quickly. Summoners are an easy way to do that, and Purple Yam, especially if you have the magic candy up there, is going to be dealing quite a lot of damage very, very quickly. So as you can see, we did it in 29 seconds. So we had 6 seconds to spare. Sorry, 28.8. I should have factored for the decimal there. Alright, so let's go back to the events. Now we need to go ahead and clear 2-18 with at least 2 charge cookies in the team. This one does not have a time limit. So if we look here, this summoner team already has 2 charge cookies. We don't have to make any changes here. So let's let the team run, and we will be able to get through it. And then once we're through it, we will beat the boss and move on to the next event. So, quick jump activity. And there are of course other ways to build this, but the easiest way is summoners, because I see that some people are struggling with teams that are fast enough, teams that are able to handle up the one single cookie challenges and certain things. Your power level is going to make a difference, of course. If you are just starting out the game and you're trying this out, you may have completely different experience, especially if you don't have all these cookies. So that's why you have to think about certain things that can make replacements. So we'll talk about that in a second. So let's go to the next event. This is clear with 3 stars using only 2 cookies. So this will greatly depend on your power level. So if you look here, 33,000 is the power itself. We're only allowed 2 cookies. We want a healer, of course, to make sure that we clear it, because we do have to actually clear it. And so the best healer for this type of setup is going to be Cream Puff, because we are running into a situation where we can only use 2 cookies, and we need a healer that can take out waves of cookies. And so that's going to be Cream Puff. And then I think Vampire is a good secondary cookie, because if we're fighting any bosses of any kind, we can take it out, and we have that free revival. So with this battle in mind, we're going to go ahead and do Scroll, Insignia, and the Clock. We don't have any time limit. All we're doing is just making sure that we clear the actual state itself with just 2 cookies. So Cream Puff is going to be your main carry here in most of the scenario, because any waves that are happening, Cream Puff's going to take. Any small setups of 2, maybe 3 enemies, Vampire can take care of pretty well, but the majority of the damage is going to be coming from Cream Puff here, and the healing is coming from Cream Puff too. Now, as the backup, that is why we have the Insignia, because if Vampire does die first, then that free Feather Revive from the Magic Candy will heal Cream Puff from the Insignia activation. So it's a great combination between those 2 right there. But like I said, because there's no speed requirement, that's why we're able to run this type of team, because we're not worried about getting through it fast for this one. We're just worried about beating it. And we did. Now, yet again, power level is going to make a huge difference. If you don't have level 12 treasures, if you don't have level 70 cookies, if they're not max 10 star ascended, that will make a difference for you. So please do keep that in mind. Clear with no magic cookies in the team. So if we go here, magic cookies, we can do it as long as we take out Pumpkin from this one. So we'll just put in Dark Cacao because there are shielded enemies here. And so anytime you run across the lions, in most cases, if the enemies itself are not shielded, then at least the boss usually is. So we're just going to let it run through, get to the healing point, and then the boss should be coming not far after. And Dark Cacao is great at removing shields. If they don't have shields, great. It's in your benefit. I do believe it starts in World 4 when they start having the shields, but it depends on Dark Mode because sometimes they do make changes. So depending on when you're doing these missions, they might be just a little bit different. So 4-16, clear within 40 seconds. So we are going to shift back to speed, and we are going to put Pumpkin back in here and try to clear it as quick as possible. We have to do it in 40 seconds. So that means the entire stage in 40 seconds. So we have to do it before 2 minutes and 10 seconds is on the clock for us to complete it at the correct time. As you can see, the overwhelming mass of cookies that we have and creatures on the field, thanks to the summoners, is making it very accomplishable. We actually have 14 seconds to spare. Once again, I have to stress, if you don't have high-level treasures, toppings, or leveled cookies, all of those things are going to make a difference in these challenges, so please keep those in mind when you are attempting them. Clear with 5 support cookies in the team. So this one, we have to be unique about. We have to have 5 supports. It does not have a time limit, but it does require specific cookies. So we're going to run this. We're going to use the scroll. We're going to definitely have the clock. And we're going to have the scythe this time. Now that is because Cream Puff will deal a lot of damage, as well as Eclair. Pomegranate and Cotton will do tremendous healing, while Oyster keeps our critical boosts high and our critical damage even higher. So that should help us push the entire team through without taking any casualties and without having to worry too much about a healing factor of this battle. Even if you have lower power levels, lower treasures, and lower cookie levels, this team should be able to push you pretty quickly through this requirement, as long as you're not starting out completely brand new. Let's move on to the next stage. I think we're halfway done at this point. Almost. No, not even halfway. About a third of the way. Okay. So we'll probably go ahead and skip 5-15 in the dark modes, and we're going to move it up to some of the story modes that might be a little bit harder for you guys. So let's look at 13-10. Let's take this on. Yet again, speed was its focus, so we're going to use summoners. Summoners in all of episode 13 are really good as well, so this should be a plentiful, strong team for you to be able to take over and meet the requirements of this event challenge. Is there any specific teams that you guys are using? Any comments that you have as far as the event goes? Is it super easy and just seems like extra rewards just because, and it's not actually a challenge to you? How do you specifically feel about it? Either way, it's free stuff for the account, which I am never upset about, as Dev Sisters have always been such a very giving and caring company, and it's easily shown through these types of things right here. 13-25, no ambush cookies. Thankfully, our summoner team has no ambush cookies in it already, so we're already in a good spot and good setup. I do not believe there was a time limit on this one, but we still hope to clear it quickly, as that is usually a goal on most of these anyway. My favorite thing, though, about the Summoners team is that they just bring out so many different bodies against the enemy that there's not too much that they can do to handle it in most cases. Episode 14 Dark Mode is a little bit of a different story. That was definitely designed against Summoners in many different ways. But it is still a good team overall in PvE, and it's hard to refute that as well. So we're going to skip to the last one, 1430. We got to clear this in 80 seconds. Yet again, we are still going to use the summoners, but this time I will take the pincushion for extra damage. And that is just because we are fighting the boss, and that boss does have quite a lot of good potential. And as you can see, the injury that is not dispellable, sorry, not the injury, the corrosion, that is going to create a lot of damage on our main fronts, and that's why we need to push through as quick as possible with as much damage as possible so that we do not lose our cookies in the front. So here we go. As you can see, their damage is amazing against our front cookies. Our healing's pretty on point. Our Crunchy chip is taking quite a lot of damage, but that attack speed reduction from Crunchy is helping a lot, and the overall damage being pushed out from our cookies is doing a pretty good job. Now, we did lose Crunchy just because of that corrosion, and if we look here on the stats, most of the damage was actually coming from Oyster in that setup. But if we go to the event itself, it did not have a requirement of all of our cookies living, so we are okay for that. I'm going to go through these others on my own. I just wanted to give you some highlights of these Into the Unknown Chapter 2 missions to kind of give you a team that's going to be helpful in pretty much most of the scenarios. There are some specific requirements like no charge cookies, use 3 stars, or clear with 3 stars using only 2 cookies, certain speed limits, so all that's going to matter. But the things that we covered today should be helpful for all these missions for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you have any feedback or any questions. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a wonderful day.